The arrival. The great hall of the alien palace was silent when the human entered. The floor was made of black stone, polished until it shined like a mirror. Strange blue fire burned in tall glass towers on both sides of the room. The air was heavy, as if it carried the weight of many eyes watching. Captain Elias walked forward slowly. His boots echoed against the stone. He felt hundreds of alien eyes on him. Some were tall and thin with silver skin. Others had glowing eyes like burning coals. All of them looked at him as if he did not belong there. He was the only human in the room. At the end of the hall, raised above the crowd, sat the queen. She was tall, elegant, and terrifying. Her skin shimmered like metal. Her hair floated around her head as if moved by a hidden wind. A golden crown rested above her sharp eyes, and when she spoke, her voice carried through the room like a song made of ice. "Show me your worm that grows twice its size, insolent human," she demanded. The words echoed in the chamber. The aliens gasped. Some whispered among themselves. Others stared at Elias with burning curiosity. Elias froze. His mind raced. A worm? What worm? He had no idea what she meant. Still, he stood tall, refusing to bow. The queen's eyes narrowed. "Do not pretend. We know the truth. Your kind has carried this secret for generations." Elias clenched his fists but kept his voice calm. "I do not know what you speak of." The aliens hissed. The sound filled the chamber like snakes in the dark. The queen lifted her hand and silence returned. She leaned forward. Long ago, the humans were said to command a creature, a living weapon, a worm that could grow twice its size in a single breath. Many believed it a myth. Yet now, we have proof. She raised her hand again. From the shadows at the side of the throne, 2 guards stepped forward. Between them, they dragged a heavy cage made of black steel. Something moved inside. The cage shook. A low hiss came from within. Elias felt his chest tighten. He had never seen anything like it, yet some deep instinct told him he should be afraid. The queen's lips curved into a sharp smile. "Look well, human. This creature answers only to your kind. Show us your control. Command it, or be destroyed." Elias's heart pounded. He tried to hide his fear, but sweat gathered on his brow. He had no worm, no weapon, no plan. Yet the queen believed. He did. And now all eyes waited for him to prove it. The guards dropped the cage in front of him. The sound echoed like thunder. Slowly, with a screech of metal, they pulled open the door. Out of the darkness slithered a strange being. Its body was pale and wet like a worm, but its skin shimmered with metallic lines. Its mouth opened, showing rings of sharp teeth. The creature stretched, and in an instant it grew longer, its body doubling in size before their eyes. The alien court gasped. The queen's smile widened. Elias stepped back. The creature turned toward him. Its eyes, or what looked like eyes, glowed faintly. It hissed again, louder this time, as if calling to him. "Control it," the queen commanded. Her voice was soft but filled with power. "Or it will tear you apart." Elias swallowed hard. His mind raced. He thought of old Earth legends, stories of creatures made in the age of war, stories told to children to frighten them at night. He had never believed them. Until now. The worm slithered closer. Its body scraped against the stone, leaving a wet trail. Its teeth clicked together, hungry and sharp. The alien crowd leaned forward, eager to see if the human would fail or succeed. Elias forced himself to stay still. If he showed fear, it would end badly. He stared at the worm, trying to think, trying to remember anything that might help. His voice came out quiet but steady. "I don't control monsters." The queen tilted her head. "Then perhaps monsters control you." The worm hissed again. Its body swelled, doubling once more in size. Now it towered over Elias, shadows stretching across the hall. Its mouth opened wide, dripping with strange glowing liquid. Elias took a slow step forward. His heart raced, but he kept his eyes on the creature. Somehow he felt it was waiting, not to attack but for something else. The court watched in silence. Every alien leaned forward, breathless. The queen whispered almost to herself, "So the legend is true." The worm stopped moving. It lowered its head toward Elias as if bowing. The chamber filled with shocked voices. The queen's eyes burned, with new interest, and Elias realized in that moment that his life had just changed forever. The test begins. The great worm lowered its head in front of Captain Elias, and the entire alien court whispered in shock. For a long moment there was only silence, broken only by the creature's wet hiss and the slow drip of glowing liquid onto the black stone floor. The queen leaned back in her throne, her metallic eyes shining with curiosity. "So," she said, softly, "the beast remembers its master, even after centuries." Elias did not move. His breath was heavy, but he kept his face calm. He had not done anything, not really. The worm had chosen him. Why? He had no idea. But he knew one thing. The queen believed he had power, and that belief was dangerous. The queen raised one long hand. "You will prove yourself, human. If you are truly one of the chosen, then the worm will obey your command. If not," her voice dropped low, sharp as a blade, "then it will devour you." The aliens around the hall laughed, hissed, and muttered. Some wanted to see him succeed. Others wanted to see blood. Elias could feel their eyes pressing against his skin. Two guards stepped forward. They carried long staffs, glowing with blue light. They struck the ground, and a metal gate at the far end of the hall slid open with a grinding roar. From the shadows, another cage rolled into view. Inside was a creature unlike any Elias had seen before. It had 6 legs, each tipped with blades of bone. Its body was armored with thick plates and its eyes burned with red fire. It howled, a sound that shook the walls. The queen's voice rang out. "Command the worm. Make it fight. Show us that you are worthy of the legends." Elias's stomach twisted. He had no control over this thing. He was not a master of creatures, not a keeper of alien beasts. He was just a man, pulled into a game. He did not understand. The worm slithered forward, its massive body scraping across the floor. It stopped just in front of Elias, waiting. Its glowing eyes stared into his. He spoke under his breath. "If you can hear me, if you understand me, please don't kill me." The worm hissed, loud enough to shake the torches in the hall. Then, as if answering his words, it turned toward the cage. The gate opened. The armored beast rushed out, claws scraping against the stone, teeth dripping with foam. It roared and charged at Elias. The crowd shouted with excitement. The queen leaned forward on her throne, her smile sharp and cold. Elias stood frozen. But the worm moved before he did. With impossible speed it struck. Its long body whipped around the hall like a living chain, slamming into the armored beast. The impact shook the ground. The beast roared in pain but did not fall. It clawed at the worm's body, slicing into its pale skin. Glowing blue blood splattered across the stone floor. The worm hissed, its body swelling again, growing larger. Before the court's eyes, it wrapped itself around the beast, coils tightening like steel. The crowd shouted louder, some cheering, others jeering. The worm's mouth opened wide, teeth glinting like knives. Elias could not move. His heart pounded in his chest and his hands shook at his sides. But deep inside a strange feeling grew. It was as if the worm's mind touched his own. He whispered again, "Don't kill it. Show them strength, but don't kill." The worm paused. The armored beast snarled and tried to bite its way free. But instead of finishing the kill, the worm hurled the beast across the hall. It crashed against the wall, bones cracking, armor shattering. The creature howled, broken but alive. Silence filled the chamber. The crowd stared, stunned. No one expected mercy, not from a worm, not from a human. The queen's eyes glowed brighter. She rose from her throne, her voice echoing like thunder. "Yes, you are truly one of them, the last of the masters." Elias raised his head slowly, though his legs felt weak. He did not understand what had just happened. He had not controlled the worm, not really, but the worm had listened. It had chosen. The queen stepped down from her throne. Her robes trailed behind her, shimmering like liquid silver. She walked toward Elias, every step loud and heavy. The aliens in the court bowed their heads as she passed. She stopped only a few steps away from him. Her eyes studied him like a scientist studying a rare insect. "Tell me, human," she said softly. "How many of these worms do you control? How many still live, hidden among the stars?" Elias stayed silent. He did not know the answer. The queen smiled slowly. "You are dangerous, more dangerous than I imagined. Perhaps your kind was never weak at all. Perhaps you were only waiting." The worm lowered itself again, its body coiled protectively around Elias. The queen stared at the sight with hunger in her eyes. "Tomorrow," she declared, "you will show us again. And if you fail..." She raised her hand toward the beast, broken but still alive on the floor. "You will join it." The guards dragged the wounded creature away. The worm remained by Elias's side, glowing eyes locked on him as if guarding him. The queen turned, her voice echoing through the chamber. "Tonight the legends return. Tonight the human proves the past was real." The court roared in approval, but Elias stood frozen, his mind racing, because in that moment he finally understood the truth. The worm was not only alive, it was aware, and for some reason it had chosen him. The chamber emptied slowly after the queen's command, but the whispers of the alien court lingered like smoke in the air. Every step the nobles took out of the hall echoed with a single question. Was the human truly a master? Captain Elias stood alone at the center of the room, the worm still coiled protectively beside him. The creature's glowing eyes followed the queen as she returned to her throne, but its body did not move. It was waiting. Elias's heart still beat like a drum in his chest. He had just survived something he did not understand. The worm had fought for him, even spared an enemy because of his words. That was no accident. Something deeper connected them, something older than both man and alien. The queen rested her chin on one hand. Her cold smile had not faded. "Strange," she said softly, her voice carrying through the empty hall. "The beast listens to you, though your words are weak. Do you even know why?" Elias shook his head. He kept his voice steady. "No, but I know this. You fear it." The queen's eyes flashed. For the first time, she looked almost amused. "Fear? I do not fear. I desire." She rose from her throne, silver robes flowing like liquid light. "And I will have what I desire." She gestured, and the guards left the room, sealing the great doors with a thunderous boom. Only Elias, the queen, and the worm remained. The blue flames in the tall towers dimmed, casting long shadows across the black stone floor. The queen stepped closer. "Do you know what you hold, human? That creature is not an animal. It is not a weapon. It is a memory. A living key to something greater." Elias frowned. "A key to what?" The queen tilted her head. "To the past. To the age when your kind ruled the stars." Her words hit him like a strike to the chest. Humans had never ruled the stars, not in any history he had studied. Humanity was young, fragile, barely surviving among greater powers. Yet the way she said it, as if it was not a lie, as if it was truth erased by time. Before Elias could speak, the worm hissed. Its body trembled, glowing lines running down its length. The air thickened. The blue flames flickered wildly. The queen's eyes widened. "It begins." The worm lifted, its head high. Its body swelled again, larger, thicker, its skin stretching with light. It doubled in size, then doubled again. The hall shook as its coils scraped across the floor. Dust rained from the high ceiling. Elias stumbled back. "What's happening?" the queen whispered like someone watching a holy vision. "The awakening." The worm released a roar. A sound not from its throat but from the air itself, vibrating, in the bones of everyone who heard it. The towers of blue fire shattered. The hall was plunged into shadows, broken only by the glow of the worm's body. Elias covered his ears, but the sound was not only in his ears, it was inside his head. Words formed out of the noise, low and ancient. Human. At last, Elias froze. His eyes darted around, but no one else had spoken. The queen stood still, eyes wide, as though she too heard it. The voice rumbled again. We remember. We obey. Elias's throat went dry. You can speak? The worm's eyes burned brighter. We can more than speak. We can awaken. You are the first. You are the key. The queen took a step forward, trembling. For the first time, her voice cracked. It speaks. It truly speaks. The worm turned its head toward her and she flinched back. You are not the chosen. You are the shadow. Your kind stole our sleep, but you could never wake us. The queen's face twisted with rage. She raised her hand as if to summon guards, but no one came. The doors stayed shut. The worm's voice thundered again. Only the human may call us. Only the human may command. Elias shook his head, his voice rising. I don't want to command you. I don't even know what you are. The worm's body pulsed with light like a heartbeat. We are memory. We are weapon. We are the beginning, and we are the end. And now, we are awake. The ground cracked beneath its weight. The black stone split, glowing veins of blue light spreading out like rivers across the hall. The queen stumbled back, eyes wide in fear. Outside, the city shook. Towers of alien design trembled. Lights across the horizon flickered and died. Alarms screamed in the distance. Elias stared at the worm, his breath shaking. He felt a pressure in his mind, like a door opening that had been locked for ages. Visions flashed, humans walking beside countless worms, leading them into battle, across burning stars, entire empires falling under their shadow. He gasped and fell to his knees. The vision faded, leaving only terror. The queen pointed at him, her voice sharp and furious. You are the cause of this. You will bring ruin to us all. The worm coiled tighter around Elias, its glowing body a shield. No, he will bring truth, and the stars will tremble once again. The hall cracked again, blue light flooding upward like fire. And for the first time, Elias understood. The worm was not only alive, it was a messenger. And this was not the end. It was the beginning. Human. Trickery. The black stone hall was broken and cracked, glowing veins of light spreading across the floor like rivers of fire. The worm coiled around Captain Elias, its massive body pulsing with strange energy. The alien queen stood several steps away, her silver robe torn, and her face twisted with fury. Outside, the city still shook. The awakening had begun, and alarms rang through the alien capital. But here in the throne room, silence hung heavy. Only the hiss of the worm and the slow breathing of Elias filled the air. The queen pointed at him, her voice sharp like a blade. You brought this upon us, human. You woke the beast. You woke what should never wake. Elias rose to his feet slowly. His legs trembled, but he stood tall. His voice was calm, though his heart raced. I didn't wake it. It woke itself. Maybe it was waiting for me, or maybe it was waiting for someone who wasn't afraid. The queen's metallic eyes narrowed. Do not speak as if you control this. The worm belongs to me, as does everything under my rule. The worm hissed and raised its head high. Its voice rumbled, though only Elias seemed to hear it fully. She lies. She cannot command us. Only you can. Elias clenched his fists. He didn't want this power, but he had it. If he showed fear, the queen would strike him down. If he looked too confident, she would try to break him. He needed another way. He needed to be clever. He turned his head slightly as if whispering to the worm. Listen to me, he said softly. Do what I do. Nothing more. The Queen's voice cut through the air. Show me, human. Prove that it bends to your will. If you fail, I will cut you open and feed your heart to it. The alien court had returned, filling the broken hall once more. They whispered in excitement, waiting to see who held true power. Elias knew he could not fight the Queen directly. She had armies, weapons, and an empire, but she didn't know what the worm truly was. That ignorance was his only advantage. He took a slow step forward and raised his hand, palm open. Bow, he said firmly. The worm lowered its head, pressing its jaw to the stone. The crowd gasped in shock. The Queen's eyes flashed, but she stayed silent. Elias kept his hand raised. His voice was calm but loud enough for all to hear. Stand. The worm rose, its body uncoiling, towering higher than before. It's glowing. Lines pulsed like fire through its veins. The crowd shouted in awe. Some dropped to their knees. The Queen clenched her fists, fury burning in her eyes. Elias turned toward her, forcing a thin smile. You see? It listens. It obeys. The Queen stepped closer, her voice sharp with anger. You toy with me. The worm obeys instinct, not you. Elias shook his head. He let silence hang for a moment before speaking, his words slow and heavy. Then let us test it. Command it yourself. The Queen froze. The court whispered again. She raised her chin, refusing to show doubt. Very well. She pointed at the worm. Kneel before me. The worm did not move. Its glowing eyes only stared at her, cold and empty. The Queen shouted louder. Kneel! Still the worm stayed still. Its massive body pulsed, and its hiss filled the air like thunder. The court erupted with cries. Some laughed, others gasped in fear. The Queen's face turned pale, her silver skin glowing red with rage. Elias stepped forward again, lowering his hand. You see? It will not follow you. Only me. The Queen's jaw tightened. She wanted to strike him down. He could see it in her eyes. But she did not. She could not. If she killed him, the worm would turn on her, and she knew it. Elias pressed his advantage. So now you have a choice. You can fight me and your people will watch you fall. Or you can accept that I am the only one who can control what you fear. The Queen's eyes burned like fire. You think you are clever, human, but you do not understand. If one worm has awakened, then others will follow. Your kind may not be ready for what comes next. Elias swallowed hard, keeping his face steady. Maybe not, but I am still here. And that means you need me. The worm hissed again as if agreeing with his words. Its body glowed brighter, casting blue light across the broken hall. The Queen turned away sharply, hiding her fury from the court. Very well, she said coldly. You live. For now. But your trick will not save you forever. The awakening has only begun. The court erupted again, voices rising like a storm. Some shouted Elias's name. Others cursed him. But all of them now saw him not as a prisoner, but as something far more dangerous. Elias stood in silence, the worm coiled around him like a guardian. He had no plan, no control, no true power. But he had done what humans always did when the odds were impossible. He had tricked them. And for the moment, that was enough. The power revealed. The alien court was restless. Their whispers were sharp, like a storm of knives cutting through the great hall. Some shouted that the human was dangerous. Others claimed he was chosen by the old legends. And above it all, the worm sat coiled around Elias, glowing brighter with every breath. The Queen stood rigid at her throne, her metallic eyes locked on Elias. Her lips were a thin line of fury, but she did not attack. She could not. The worm's very presence held her at bay. Elias stood as tall as he could, though his heart was racing. He knew his trick could not last forever. The Queen would find a way to test him again, and sooner or later he would fail. But until then, he had one weapon left, Fear. The Queen raised her hand, silencing the hall. You think you have power? Human, she said coldly. But power means nothing without control. Tell me, what happens when the worm no longer listens? What happens when it decides to feed? As if her words were a signal, the worm's head lifted. Its body pulsed with glowing light and its jaws opened wide, dripping with blue fire. The alien stepped back, hissing and shouting in alarm. Elias tried to stay calm, but his stomach turned. The worm was moving differently now, more restless, more dangerous. He whispered under his breath, "Stay with me, please." The worm hissed, and then it struck. It moved faster than the eye could follow. In one motion it lashed out at a row of alien guards. Their energy spears lit up in panic, but they had no time. The worm's body slammed into them, sending them crashing into the stone walls. The sound of breaking armor and cracking bones filled the air. The court erupted in chaos. Nobles screamed. Guards rushed forward, weapons glowing. The Queen shouted something in her strange tongue, but her voice was lost in the storm. The worm rose higher, doubling in size again, its coils smashing through the pillars of the hall. Dust rained from the ceiling as cracks spread across the walls. Its glowing eyes burned like two suns as it let out a roar that shook the very stones. Elias staggered back. He had not told it to attack. He had not told it to grow. Yet it acted, as if it knew something he did not, something larger. The Queen's voice cut through the chaos, sharp and furious. "Control it, human. Control it, or it will tear down my city." Elias forced himself to step forward, even as terror clawed at his chest. He shouted, hoping the worm would hear. "Stop, enough!" The worm froze. Its massive head turned, lowering until its glowing eyes met his. The hall fell silent again. Dust drifted through the blue light. Every alien froze, waiting. Elias swallowed, hard. He raised his hand slowly. "Down," he commanded. The worm hissed, coils shaking, but it obeyed. It lowered itself, wrapping protectively around him once more. Its glowing body filled the hall with light, but its rage quieted. The crowd gasped. Some shouted that he was a god. Others cried that he was a curse. But none could deny the truth. He had stopped the beast with only his voice. The Queen's eyes burned with fury, but also with something else. Hunger, desire. She wanted this power. She needed it, but she could not touch it, and that made her dangerous. She stepped down from her throne, her silver robe dragging through the dust. "You are more than I thought, human. This is no trick. The worm answers you. And now, all can, see?" Elias stood tall, though his legs trembled. "I didn't ask for this," he said. "But maybe your people should ask themselves why it listens to me and not to you." The Queen's face twisted with rage, but she did not strike. Instead, she turned to her court. Her voice rose like thunder. "Remember this day. The worm obeys the human. But know this. Such power cannot be left in one man's hands. We will take it. We will break it. We will find the others." The court roared in response, though their voices were filled with both fear and excitement. The Queen raised her hand again, pointing at Elias. "Until then he lives, but he is mine. Guard him, watch him, and pray he does not lose control." Guards moved in cautiously, surrounding Elias at a distance, their weapons ready but their eyes full of fear. None dared step too close to the worm. Elias stood still, breathing hard. He had survived again. But he felt the danger closing tighter around him. The Queen would not stop. She would test him again, until either he broke or the worm destroyed everything. The worm's voice rumbled softly in his mind, words only he could hear. "Do not fear. We are with you. We will protect you. And soon, the others will rise." Elias's blood ran cold. The others. He remembered the vision, the endless swarm of worms across the stars. If this was only one, what would happen when they all awakened? He looked at the Queen, at the fear hidden behind her fury, and he knew one thing. His trick was over. The worm had shown its power, and now the galaxy itself would tremble, and there was no turning back. The Queen's dilemma. The throne hall still carried the scars of the worm's rage. Broken pillars leaned at strange angles, dust hung in the air, and the black stone floor was cracked with glowing blue lines that refused to fade. The alien court had scattered in fear after the Queen's final order. Now only guards remained, standing far from Elias and his guardian beast. The worm rested, its coils heavy across the shattered ground. It had calmed, but its glowing eyes never left Elias. Each slow breath it took made the hall tremble faintly, a reminder of the power it carried. The Queen stood near the broken steps of her throne. Her silver skin reflected the worm's glow, and her eyes burned with a storm of emotions: anger, fear, and something deeper: desire. For a long time, neither spoke. Elias could hear only the worm's steady hiss and his own pounding heart. Finally, the Queen's voice broke the silence, sharp and cold. "You are a danger to my empire," she said, "but you are also the key to its survival." Elias raised his chin. He was tired, but he would not show weakness. "You can't control it, and you know it." The Queen's lips curved in a thin smile. "Not yet. But everything can be controlled. Even you." Elias felt the weight of her words. She was not threatening his life. She was threatening to break him, bend him into something useful. She descended from her throne, her silver robe dragging across the cracked floor. The guards lowered their heads as she passed. She stopped only a few steps away from Elias. "Tell me, human," she said softly, almost kindly. "Why does it choose you? Why not me? Why not one of my people?" Elias looked at the worm, then back at her. "Maybe because we don't try to own it. Maybe because we don't fear it the way you do." The Queen's eyes narrowed, but her smile did not fade. "You speak of fear, but you are full of it. I can smell it. The only difference is you know how to hide it." Elias said nothing. He would not give her the satisfaction. The Queen turned away, pacing slowly around him like a predator circling prey. "My empire was built on strength, on control, on order. If my people see that I cannot master this worm, they will begin to doubt. Doubt leads to weakness. Weakness leads to rebellion. That I cannot allow." She stopped, facing him again. "So I must decide, do I kill you now and risk the worm's fury, or do I keep you alive and risk what you may become?" Elias's pulse quickened. He could feel her words were not for show. She was truly caught between two choices, and both were dangerous. The worm's voice rumbled faintly in his mind. "She cannot kill you. She knows we would tear her world apart." Elias tried not to react, keeping his expression calm, but the Queen's sharp eyes studied him. She seemed to sense the silent exchange. "You hear it, don't you?" she whispered. "It speaks to you." Elias froze. He didn't answer. The Queen's smile widened, but there was no joy in it. Only hunger. "Good. That means you are the key. That means I need you." She leaned closer, her metallic face inches from his. "But do not mistake need for mercy. You are not my equal. You are my tool. And if you refuse to serve, I will break you until you do." Elias met her eyes, his voice steady. "And if I refuse?" The Queen's smile vanished. For a moment, her face was hard stone. Then she turned, sweeping back toward her throne. "Then you will learn what it means to be truly alone. Even your worm will not save you forever. Even your worm will not save you forever." She sat, her robe folding around her like flowing silver. She raised her voice so the guards could hear. "The human will be taken to the inner chambers. He will be fed. He will be watched, and he will be questioned. No harm will come to him unless he disobeys." The guards bowed, but none dared step close. The worm's glowing eyes followed their every move. Elias stood in silence, his thoughts racing. He was alive, for now. But the Queen's words cut deep. She wanted him as a weapon, a key, a servant, and she would not stop until she got what she wanted. The worm shifted, lowering its head beside him. Its voice filled his mind again, calm and steady. Do not fear. She cannot own us. Soon the others will awaken, and when they rise, no throne will stand against us. Elias's chest tightened. The thought of more worms, thousands, millions, was too much to imagine. Empires would fall, worlds would burn, and somehow he was at the center of it. The queen watched him silently from her throne, her eyes sharp and calculating. She was no longer thinking of whether to kill him. She was thinking of how to use him, how to twist him, how to turn his bond with the worm into her empire's greatest weapon. Elias knew it. She was caught between fear and hunger, torn between killing him and keeping him close. The queen's dilemma was not only her burden, it was his curse, and he had no idea how long he could survive it. The final twist, the night in the alien capital, was uneasy. Alarms still wailed across the city, their sharp echoes bouncing off towers of silver and glass. People gathered in the streets, whispering about the human and the beast that had shaken the queen's throne. Fear mixed with curiosity, and the empire waited for answers. Inside the palace, Captain Elias sat in a chamber of black stone. The walls were carved with strange runes that glowed faintly in the dark. Guards stood at the door, watching him with sharp eyes, but they refused to come near. They feared the worm, and with good reason. The creature coiled around him like a giant serpent, resting but never truly still. Its glowing eyes remained half open, as if guarding him even in silence. Elias leaned against the cold wall, exhaustion heavy in his bones. He had survived longer than he expected, but survival was not victory. The queen entered without warning. The doors opened with a hiss, and she stepped inside, her silver robe flowing like liquid. The guards bowed low, but she ignored them, her eyes locked on Elias. You have caused unrest in my empire, she said, her voice calm but sharp. My people whisper of you. Some call you a savior, others call you a curse. I cannot allow either voice to grow louder than mine. Elias forced himself to stand. Then kill me and be done with it. The queen's lips curved into a small smile. No. If I kill you, the worm destroys everything I have built. If I keep you, my enemies believe I control you. And so I must keep you alive long enough to learn how to take what is yours. Elias clenched his fists, anger tightening his chest. You'll never control it. The queen stepped closer. Her voice a whisper meant only for him. Then I will control you. Before Elias could reply, the worm stirred. Its body trembled, glowing lines flashing like lightning under its skin. Its eyes snapped open, burning brighter than before. Elias staggered back. What's happening? The worm lifted its head and a low roar filled the chamber. The walls shook, dust falling from the ceiling. The runes carved into the stone flared with blue light, brighter and brighter until the room glowed like a sun. The queen's eyes widened. No, not here. Not now. The worm's voice rumbled inside Elias's mind. They hear us. They wake. The call has begun. Elias's blood turned cold. Who hears us? The worm's coils tightened, and its voice thundered again. The others. Across the stars. They rise from their sleep. The ground shook violently. Outside, the sky split with streaks of blue fire. Alarms wailed louder, and screams filled the city. Elias rushed to the narrow window, looking up at the heavens, and he saw them. Giant shapes moved against the stars. Worms, vast, endless, each one glowing with the same pulsing light. They were not coming from space. They were rising from beneath the alien world itself, tearing free from the crust, shattering mountains and oceans. Towers crumbled, cities broke, the ground itself split apart. The queen staggered back, horror on her face. Impossible. They were buried, sealed away in the ancient wars. Elias gripped the window frame, unable to breathe. He remembered the visions the worm had forced into his mind. The swarm stretching across the galaxy, humans standing at their side. He thought it had been a dream, an illusion. But now it was real. The worm roared again, and the sound was answered. From every horizon more worms cried out, their voices shaking the skies. The planet trembled under their call. The queen's calm mask broke. She shouted to her guards, her voice filled with panic. "Seal the city! Raise the shields! Stop them!" But the guards were already fleeing, terror in their eyes. None dared face the awakening. The queen turned back to Elias, her voice sharp with fury and fear. This is your doing. You have doomed us all." Elias shook his head, though his body trembled. "No, this was never about me. It was always about them. They were only waiting for someone to wake them." The worm coiled tighter around him, its glowing body pulsing in rhythm with the distant roars of its kind. Its voice filled his mind once more, heavy as a storm. The age of silence is over. The age of man begins again. The queen's eyes burned, with hatred, but beneath it Elias saw something else, fear. She had ruled for centuries with unshaken power, but now that power meant nothing. Against the swarm, her throne was dust. The palace shook harder. Cracks split the ceiling, raining stone into the chamber. The queen stumbled, her silver crown falling to the ground. She looked up at the trembling roof, then back at Elias. Her voice was low, desperate. "If they rise, no empire will survive. Not mine, not yours, not any. Do you understand what you have unleashed?" Elias looked at her, then at the worm, then back at the sky tearing open above. His throat was dry, his heart a hammer in his chest. "Yes," he whispered. "I understand." The worm roared one final time, and its voice thundered across the galaxy. "Awaken." And in that moment, every hidden worm across countless worlds began to stir.